Shoutouts to that. One way to look at no major glitches, though, and part of the reason that we make this distinction is because we really don't want to skip, major content of the game. If it's going to make you skip a dungeon or, a normally required item, that's kind of outside of the character of the speedrun. Now, you can sometimes, take advantage of, a different way of doing things. For example, there's nothing telling us that we can't, do the one tile across torch with a lamp, say, in Gan's Tower, but, plenty of ways that our runners can be a little creative in the route, even within this category. Looks like we are off, though. Mage starting up a little bit behind him, but not a problem. They should be able to get that going. Could just be a frozen stream. Yep, looks like we got off. Mageius may have forgotten to do his timer. Not a big deal, though. We're getting this synced up right now. Well, our runners are going to catch up to their speed-running uncle. The uncle here is actually faster than any runner on Earth. He currently holds the world record for basement death percent here. We're going to walk right past that, though. We're not here for that run. Well, so it's time to go get that princess. Unlike Mario games, we do this immediately. I think this is probably a smart decision. Link has always seemed like a very intelligent character within the franchise. Also a very silent character. I'm wondering if there's a correlation between that. Doesn't help that I'm on the mic. We get a nice little strategy here from our runners to kill this blue guard. We're going to do a poke from the side and do a spin slash before it goes too far away. Mage is doing the same thing with a sword spin there. We want to get that guard as close to the door as possible so we can walk through the door as soon as we pick up the key. So I was chatting with Mageius the other day, talking about this race, and we had some interesting ideas about the lore behind this game. Simply put, this game feels like a Sonic ripoff. I mean, you have the Chaos Emeralds, you have to get all of them and, fight a big bad guy. It sounds like a bit of a cheesy ripoff. We'll talk more about that as we uncover those Chaos Emeralds. In the meantime, though, we have a princess to save. You're going to see two different strategies, maybe even three, if things go south, that our runners will likely take here to deal with the ball and chain guard, who can take 8 slashes normally with the sword, or you can throw 1 or 2 pots to take care of half or full of that damage, respectively. Shadyforce opting to throw the pot, getting a couple slashes in, and doesn't take any damage. Very nicely done. Mageius going for the traditional speedrunning tactic here of just simply 8 slashing it, and despite having 1 HP, is going to get through that just fine. Speaking of that in chat about, how many pending speedruns there are to verify, I've actually had to remove my old one because I had a newer PB since then. Well, we have the princess in tow. Shadyforce getting through things a little bit smoother. That being said, though, we just have to dodge the same guards pretty much on the way out. Hoping to have minimal issues with that. RNG does come back to rear its ugly head twice here. I'm getting a little bit of chatter in chat about, verifying runs and doing it in 2 times speed. It seems smart to me. I'm just wondering, what do you do with Parisian players' 2 times speed run? Do you run that at 4 times? We have our princess in tow. We are going through the mantle. We are going to hopefully have a sub 6-minute escape. Having some weird issues with Mageius' screen. I'm not sure if he's having some problems on his end, but seems to have sorted it out. Next up, though, as far as the RNG goes, Shadyforce is going to show us the Snake Room and the Key Rat Room. The positions of pretty much all of these enemies are going to be static. We're not going to see differences in that. That being said, though, they do go in different directions, and that could be a very, very frustrating source of consternation here early on in the escape. Key Rat on the left here goes straight towards him. Didn't get a perfect pickup or anything, but absolutely got through there, no problems. Also, props to Mageius for giving Shadyforce a head start. That's a bold, confident move. We'll see if it pans out. Seeing some comparisons to Goku with Link here, crossing Snake Way in just moments. I can't argue with that. I mean, he did cross Snake Way with literally zero problems. Just to clarify, though, I don't really know what went down with Mageius' stream. He may or may not have actually just had some technical issues. But I was joking that he gave him a head start. Although, actually, they're not that far apart, all things considered. Yep, that's right. You are watching Vanilla Rando. Actually, funny thing about that, too, if folks out there who really enjoy the randomizer, one of the nice things about that modification to the game is it eliminates a lot of text boxes and cutscenes. So if you want, there's actually a way to play the vanilla game with all of the randomizer updates to it, which is a very handy way to just speed through it. I don't think anybody's ever tried to do a category like that. I imagine it changes enough where that's not as valuable, but always found that interesting. You can get through a lot of your practice fast if you don't have the practice hack. Well, we did see a small time save for Mageius here leaving Sanctuary. He had less than a full heart of health. I'm not sure the exact technical explanation of it, but it saves about half a second through that cutscene. So we didn't talk about pumping before, but moving left and right when you're going north will actually make your speed go faster if you have a wall to pump against. We just mash the D-pad a lot. When we have opportunities to move in a shallow angle, and we can reset Link's walking animation to its fastest speed as much as possible. Shadyforce having not too many issues with the Cannonball RNG. That's the first instance of Cannonball RNG in this game. We're going to have 2 more opportunities here in the Light World. One of which is in the second half of this dungeon. Interesting thing you saw on Mageius' screen, he actually boomerangs that Armos Knight because it prevents lag. Lost that time immediately, though, because the other Armos Knight got really close and friendly. Have an opportunity for some safety arrows. Shadyforce picking them up. Probably not trying to pick up drops later on in the dungeon. I agree with that idea. Also, yes, chat rightfully pointing out, shoutouts to Sankart. Mageius here would be dead without it. Gonna pick up a safety heart on the way to the Stelphos room. Can't blame him. Anything goes wrong at this point, he would be dead. And actually, there it is. So, definitely making the wise decision to pick up that heart. We get a nice damage boost out of Shadyforce to pick up that pot and activate the switch for the big key underneath those anti-fairies. You have to take usually at least a heart and a half of damage. He took a little bit more than that, having a little trouble getting the iframes, but getting through it no problems. Chad making a good point about how this is actually Zelda no Densetsu Kamigami no Triforce, not A Link to the Past. I mean, you're not wrong. It is Triforce of the Gods. I see no errors in your reasoning here. Now, that being said, if one of these runners was playing 1.1 or 1.2, they would probably have you, beat on that one. Well, Mageius going after his damage boost. Going to try the north of the anti-fairy strat. Screen froze a little bit there, so I didn't get to see if he ended up pulling it off. Hopefully he didn't die. And speak of the devil, well, it's a punishing death to take. That being said, though, Eastern Palace in general is going to be about a minute and a half. That's the worst place in the dungeon to die if you're going to, though. Besides, of course, at Armos. We're going to have Armos here on the left with Shady Force. We're going to pump 5 arrows into him to delay them from reaching their normal resting position. And then we just start pumping a ton of arrows into him. He accidentally hit the wrong one, but should still be able to pull this out no problem. Has a few spare arrows to work with. Well, Mageius unfortunately has to go all the way back through the dungeon. Very punishing place to take a fall. However, we'll have a perfectly good opportunity to get revenge on that room. Those popos, not exactly friendly. The anti-fairies, arguably worse. So we have Shady Force here leaving Eastern a little bit after 11 minutes. Still a pretty good split. We're going to go pick up our fast shoes. And you'll notice that Shady Force talks to Sahasrahla a little bit higher up in the room. The reason he's doing that is so he can head to the back half to pick up some rupees and potentially some bombs. Otherwise, we would talk to him as low in the room as possible. Making great use of a dash bomb to break open that door. A lot of people don't realize that you don't need a bomb to do so. Doesn't opt to pick up the safety bombs either, so just going to do normal NMG strats throughout here the rest of the race to get those bombs. Pulls off a nice spin speed. You weren't able to see it, but the spin speed's a fun little trick. Well, before that, we have that big key skip here for Mageius, and with half a heart, he gets it. Very nice. So if he died here, it would still be punishing, but it wouldn't be as bad. No, but as for spin speed, though, we play around with the movement mechanics of Link. As you can tell, dashing is the single fastest way to get around. You move at 4 pixels per frame whenever you're in that dash animation. But if we release a sword spin and hit the dash button immediately, like the next frame, we can actually trick the game into giving us running speed while we're walking. We just have to change our movement speed by touching a ladder. Well, with the literacy in hand, Shady Force is going to check out the desert and pray to the land Molus for good RNG. Mageius, on the other hand, is going to take on the Armos fight, taking the safety heart there. I absolutely agree with that. At half a heart, I was a little nervous. Shady, unfortunately, not able to get the spin speed on the way back from the library. Not a problem, though. Small time save. It's better to just dash there if you miss it. But yeah, as far as spin speed goes, and other super speed glitches in general, it's really only useful for the screen that you activate it on. And you can also get a couple of other nice exploits like quick hops. And, if we were trying to do major glitches, you could even clip out of bounds of that stuff, but our runners would be very careful to avoid that. Mageius is going to do the bottom right strats. We don't see this that often, but it is actually how we would handle the Ice Armos later on in the game. Doing pretty well with it. We got the Enrage phase, but we have plenty of arrows to work with. Mageius is going to clean this up, no problems. Well, Shady Force has prayed for good RNG. Remains to be seen if that'll actually happen, but it doesn't hurt to try. Well, now that Mageius has the green pendant. I'm trying to think of like a Sonic reference to make there, but I don't know Sonic that well. We'll get to those Chaos Emeralds later, though. We're coming up on that. But he talks to Dr. Eggman first. Very interesting divergence from the typical the typical Sonic lore. He's gonna go get his fast shoes. We gotta go fast. Interestingly enough, Mageius will skip the Sahazla rubies. That will probably lead him to pull trees later on. As strange as it sounds, money does grow on trees here in Hyrule. Looks like Shady got really good cannonball RNG in Desert. You also notice he picks up some arrows on the way through there. We want to have as many arrows as possible for Lammolis. If you're doing things optimally, which almost nobody ever does on Lammolis, it's going to take at least 12 arrows to knock them out, so the more we have here, the better. We'll have another opportunity to pick up at least 5 on the way to Lammolis, easily 10 if we're a little bit enterprising and want to spend a couple frames to go pick them up. You know, though, Chad, I mean, it is strange that gems grow on trees in Hyrule, but I think I now understand why those lumberjacks are working so hard day and night. Unfortunately, Aghanim's cartel is going to force them out of the area once Aghanim has descended from the tower, so that will be a short-lived dream. Shady doing an amicable job with the kill rooms there. Those popos will move in random directions. If you're fast enough, you can prevent them from, I don't know, scuttling around too much. But Shady had no major issues, just had to track down one of them. Well, folks, here's the moment of truth. What's our RNG going to be like today? Here in the Lammolis fight, the first phase will always spawn in the same position, but the flight path, the distance of the flight, and of course, how long they're in the air, and the direction that they go is completely random. So it remains to be seen what this fight's going to look like. Shady will hopefully get 2 arrows into each one in the first cycle, but that's the best case scenario. Alright, we have pulled off 1 arrow, so he's really got a lot of arrows to sink in here. Ooh, getting a really friendly second cycle pattern. Wow, pulling that off. That's a really good second and third phase. Fourth phase. Fourth phase Lammolis, definitely a decent fight. You want to have around 3 or 4. If you can get 3, that's fantastic, though. So that went about as well as you can probably hope for in that scenario. Mageius walking through